watching the DNN News Channel.
What was the Cold War exactly? Was it during the winter?
No, it wasn't. It was actually an indirect war between the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Let's take a look at the last half from 1963 to the end in 1991. Let's start with the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. On August 5, 1963, representatives of the US, Soviet Union, and Great Britain signed the Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which prohibited the testing of nuclear weapons in outer space, underwater, and in the atmosphere. This was said to be the first step towards the control of nuclear weapons.
If this treaty fails, it will not be our doing. And even if it fails, we shall not regret that with our courage and understanding enlarged by this achievement, let us press onward in quest of man's essential desire for peace.
On November 1963, Russian nationalist Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated President Kennedy during a parade in Texas. The crowd burst into terror and tensions between the Soviet Union and the US increased. We have a video of the incident from a spectator at the parade right now.
Wow, that's such a sad scene. It ignites my anger every time. Now that I think about it, he kind of looks like you.
In 1968, the Soviet Union led a full-scale invasion in Czechoslovakia in an attempt to crush a liberalization movement that had arisen there. Let's go to a field reporter Verana Joe, who was under the scene when this battle raged on.
Here in Prague, where the Russians invaded the Czechoslovakia and everything escalated into war. Let's go get some insight with the soldiers. Oh, it's Czechoslovakian. Hi, can you give us some insight about this?
So, you know how we're kind of under Soviet control, but not really because they let us do whatever we want. Well, we tried this thing called a Prague Spring where we use Western ideas of liberalism for our country, but then the Soviets didn't like it, so they sent hella troops to crush our movement.
Oh, I see. Okay, let's go talk to a Russian soldier.
Russian! Yes!
Let me have some of your thoughts on this war.
All the Czechs are dumb. Communism is the only true form of government. Liberalism sucks. Do your non-violent protests have anything to do against our tanks? I don't think so.
Okay. Oh,
I hope someone puts you all under a policy of normalization because you're not normal.
Hey, back to you, Arjun.
In attempts to win the space race between the US and the Soviets, NASA, the Americans, with their rocket Apollo 11, put the first men on the moon in the July of 1969. This increased tensions between the US and Soviet Union as both nations fought to become the top superpower.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From 1969 to May of 1972, the end of the Cold War seemed to finally come into view. The first half of the Strategic Arms Limitation Talk, SALT I, was engaged. The USA and Soviet Union negotiated for 2.5 years before agreeing to limit their ballistic missiles and nuclear weapon program. The nuclear weapons would not be dismantled completely until the end of SALT II, a continuation of SALT I 6 years later.
Slowly, paragraph by paragraph, a treaty for the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons was hammered out and signed by the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom. The world watched with cautious optimism, for a quarter of a century of Soviet intransigence seemed finally to be melting. When the talks ended, the American delegate was to say that the United States would make every effort to reach agreement. The Soviet delegate would say that the Soviet Union was unswervingly pursuing a policy of peaceful cooperation.
From December of 1956 until April of 1975, the Vietnam War raged on between North and South Vietnam, with the Soviets supporting the North and the US supporting the South. The US eventually became disillusioned with the war and gradually withdrew troops from Vietnam in an effort to end American involvement in Vietnam, leading to the South Vietnamese fighting for themselves against Northern communists. North Vietnam's capture of Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, on April 30, 1975, signified the end of the Vietnam War and victory for the North Vietnam.
So we are here in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon, with two citizens from North and South Vietnam. They are here to give us their insights on the end of the Vietnam War. North Vietnam?
Trời, mấy cái thằng này ngu nhiên, ta đi xuống cái đường á, xong rồi như nó đổ nước, xong rồi đào.
And what about you, South Vietnam?
Làm cái này nhiều lâu quá, bây giờ đang giờ bữa rồi, xong nước nóng chảy nhiều quá.
Thank you guys for your thoughts.
In 1979, the U.S. improved its relations with communist nations even further by coming to terms with communist China. The establishment of diplomatic relations opened a channel for exchange between the two nations.
We learned some new things about Deng. He likes astronauts, cowboys, and basketball, and has 2 grandchildren who asked Grandpa to bring home gifts. He needn't have worried. Deng was given a pewter owl, a moon picture, some Texas spurs, and not one but 2 $10,000 bulls.
Good relaxation, good barbecue, good country music, and a good rodeo show.
We have an independent, self-governing trade union. We have the right to strike. These were the words of a leader in the Polish movement Solidarity. On August 31st, 1980, a group of workers started a non-communist group at the Lenin shipyards. Backed by Polish Pope John Paul, 10 million other workers fought for better working conditions and freedom. Solidarity was one of the first movements that undermined the communist regime, bringing it down to the ground. We go now to our field reporter, Emily Liu.
We are here in Poland at the site of a meeting that has just ended. We have a member of the Solidarity or trade union here who is willing to speak with us. Ma'am?
Right now, we are having success where our demands is freedom, better working conditions, and religious freedom. We did this through an active voice, protest, and petition.
Hey, why are you Stalin? Stalin? Why you should be Russian to so... In March 1983, President Reagan introduced a strategic defense initiative in hopes of making nuclear war possible. Thus, it hastened the end of the Cold War. In 1986-1987, Reagan and Gorbachev made up and agreed to remove all nuclear missiles, making both events possible.
What the president proposed this evening could lead to one of the most radical turnabouts of our time in strategic nuclear policy, and we will spend most of this broadcast trying to put that extraordinary proposal into some kind of perspective.
In the arcane world of nuclear thinking, it was offensive nuclear weapons that promoted stability. Defensive weapons, like the anti-ballistic missile, which lessened the danger of reprisal, upset the balance of terror, and so were considered provocative and destabilizing. But tonight, President Reagan turned 30 years of strategic thinking on its head.
Let me share with you a vision of the future which offers hope.
The president said he was launching a massive research effort to develop space-age weapons that would bring down or incapacitate Soviet missiles before they reached the U.S. This, the president claimed, would secure the U.S. against nuclear attack and eventually make nuclear weapons themselves obsolete.
The revolutions against the communist regimes in Eastern Europe began a revolutionary wave that resulted in the fall of communism and the Soviet Union. The revolutions began in Poland in 1989 and spread to Hungary, East Germany, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, and Romania. Let's go to our field reporter, Lexi, for some more insights on these events.
I have 2 citizens here with me from Hungary and Romania who are willing to give their opinions on the revolutions against the communist states.
My country was tired of being abused by the communist regime. Change was desperately needed, so we fought for it through civil resistance campaigns.
The communist governance may be oppressive and restrictive, but we Romanians will fight for what we want and get what we want.
November 9, 1989 marks the fall of the Berlin Wall. At midnight, East Germany communist rulers gave permission to tear the wall down. After decades of partition, East Berliners were able to unite and be greeted by the West Berliners on the other side. Ecstatic crowds tore down the segments of the concrete wall. It appeared as if the curtain of the communist regime was finally falling and the Soviets' power were slipping from their fingers. Let's go to the scene where our field reporter, Aquinagino, is there as the wall is being demolished.
We're here at the Berlin Wall here in East Germany, and we're about to see the Berlin Wall finally coming down after years of oppression. Citizens, what do you think about this Berlin Wall coming down?
We've been waiting forever for the Berlin Wall to come down so we could be reunited with the West Berliners. When I heard that this was going to happen on the news, I called everyone to come over. And it's really happening, wow!
West Germany seems really cool, but we can't go over because of the stupid wall.
And there you have it. We have the citizens' opinion on this wall. Let's talk to the East German government and see what's going on.
By the order of the East German government, the wall has to come down.
It's coming down! With the rise of the new democratic elections under the first Soviet president, Mikhail Gorbachev, there were more peaceful international relations between the Soviets and the US. Gorbachev established a policy of openness called glasnost and restructuring called perestroika. Thus marks the end of Soviet aggression against the US and the conclusion of the Cold War.
Thanks for joining us at DNN News Channel. I'm Joanna.
I'm Marchan. Tune again next time at channel 8305.